This video is going to be talking about the one big mindset shift I did that really changed my life. And it's a really great topic because I didn't realize how much just changing the shift of how I look at things and how I react to things really rippled onto other things in my life and other areas of my life that I had no idea it was going to be that way. So let's go back to the story before I even go to that one thing, is like how my life was like. There's a definite before and after. And I think anybody that's on any self-growth journey, bettering yourself or trying to become a better version of yourself, like you versus you, is someone that intentionally looks at, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or oh, I wish I could have been better. I think you're always like maybe criticizing yourself on how you're doing things. And this is something that I noticed if you're someone that's really struggling with pieces of like anxiety, having the ick feeling. I call it the Sunday night scaries for those of you that go back to corporate world, or you just feel constantly pulled at in every single way from your husband, your wife, your kids, your friends, your extended family, all the obligations you've signed up for. You willingly did, but it's still pressuring you. I think there's so much that's going on in life and you feel like you're going and you're pushing this like 1,000-pound ball up the wall, up the hill, and you have these goals and you want to be this person and you want to show up and be the best you can be. I don't know if this is familiar for you, but this is me. Like, I think about my before, I was definitely physically drained, even though I would never show it out in public. When I would come home, I'd be like exhausted. And I didn't show up the best for my children or for my husband. And I do have shame about that when I look back on that, but I have forgiven myself. And definitely anxiety and dread when things were going to happen, like conversations were going to happen, almost in that concept of that worst case scenario, being that person that's like, oh my God, what if this happens? Like that would be me. So I don't know if that lands with you, but if it does, then maybe this one mindset change that you can work on will help you. Just being like exhausted from like the constant running in my head and in head, like always going like, ruminating, I guess is like the word of like, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And it would be like this whole circling the drain for me. So that was me before. In this growth journey that I've been on in particular, I've really noticed a huge shift. And the reason I'm doing this topic is because a dear friend of mine had an impromptu visit and she noticed last night, she's like, you are eerily calm. And I just thought like, hey, I am. And it just was a celebration of a moment. And we'll talk about that at the end on how much growth I've had in the last few years. So it is not overnight. It is definitely muscle, and it's definitely you have to be intentional about and work on. So if this is something you want and you're looking to grow, this is definitely one mindset shift. And the shift for me was to really not be tied to the outcome, to things. Now, it sounds like a really big concept and almost like esoteric or out there, but meaning let it go. Like, do what you need to do, get your stuff done, have your goals, but don't be so controlling and tight and hanging on so tight to how things have to turn out. Like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't happen, then everything's gonna fall apart. Like allowing it to just be what it's gonna be. Such a hard concept for someone like me, type A. I don't know if you're a type A person. Even type B people kind of want to know what's happening. Like there's that control piece as humans that we know, that certainty of what's gonna happen that keeps us grounded, I guess, but not in a good way sometimes. Sometimes it becomes like obsessive, I guess is the word. So basically that is the number one mindset shift, is letting it go like Elsa, right? And not controlling everything and not being tied to the outcome. This really is about reframing. Tony Robbins always says that is about you have to reframe how you see things. And when you do that, that becomes your reality. So I'm sure everyone that is on here knows negative people that suck the air out of the rooms. Their viewpoint, their reframe is so different from yours if you're not that way. So that's a perfect example of it. So if you can imagine and truly embrace that feeling of everything is happening for you instead of against you. So you don't need to be tied to that exact outcome, that if it's not this way and this doesn't happen by this date, that you're a failure or whatever thing you've assigned negative to it, and then you circle again and start ruminating. That's something for me that was such a game changer. And I think it's about truly embracing the no's that come in your life, because we all get no's, we all get what we call setbacks or failures, but really looking at them as, wow, this is a good thing because I learned from it. Number one, I grew from it, and it protected me from something that I didn't know was not supposed to be for me in my path, because something much greater is coming. Whether that be a relationship, a job, a deal in real estate, anything like that. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. And with that quote, I always love this quote. And it's a quote that says, "What's meant for me will never miss me. And what misses me was never meant for me." It's a really old quote. I can't remember if it's Rumi or something like that, but that quote just resonates so much. And I don't know if it does for you. I'd love it if you comment and just let me know. I'm just curious if there are others that kind of follow this policy or have seen changes if they've adopted that. And also, like, if I start to revert back in the old way, the old version of myself, I tell myself I'm exactly where I need to be. And I've actually said that to people that ask me questions, and they start getting, they go into the frenzy. I think we've all had coached friends or had talks with friends or had friends call us your besties, whoever, our family, and they're freaking out. And you just tell them, like, everything's going to work out. This is what it's supposed to be. And that's what that means, really. And I think it's easier when they're outside looking in, when it's your life. It's so hard sometimes to really be okay with how things are going to be. And this shift for me, it didn't happen overnight. So that's something to remember. It's been a long time coming of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, like doing well with it and then kind of moving back. But like, it definitely changed it. And my result from doing this in this kind of practice, it has incredibly dropped my stress levels. I've had a lot of difficult deals this summer, kind of things not going my way, weird travel, demands with the kids, lots of changes in our market. We've had changes with our contracts, things going on. And typically in the past, just one of those items would have set me off and made me kind of short-tempered or not nice or not kind, not showing up how I want to show up as my standard. And I just feel like what that did for me result-wise, it has reserved a lot of that brain space that I used to just give away to obsessing. And when I say brain space, it's that concept of you may not be talking about it or in your mind actively thinking about it, but you're ruminating and you're thinking, and there is brain space of like worrying, that constant worry. And half the time, more than half the time, it never even comes true, and you freaked out and wasted all that energy for nothing. And so I know that that's what was contributing to my exhaustion. So if that's you, this may be the solution for you, this one simple thing, the mindset shift. And so one of the other results I noticed for myself is that people have noticed. My husband, my kids, my friends, coworkers just have mentioned, not even me prompting, but just saying, like, you just have a different feeling about you. You just seem calm. You just have a different energy. And it's just such a compliment, because it's something that I actively want to be, this other version, this identity of myself that is calm, that is in control of, not control freak, but in control of myself and how I'm reacting to things. So one of my other favorite quotes is from Michael Singer, and it's, Oprah interviewed him, and he's, has The Untethered Soul and Living Untethered, 2 incredible books that I stumbled across thanks to Tony Robbins. Again, he interviewed him. And I probably read those books, both of them, at least 3 or 4 times. And each time it's like a reminder that it's really based on this concept that the moment in front of you is not bothering you. So I know it seems crazy, but like, you get agitated for whatever reason, like your plane's late or it's raining or these are things are happening. That stuff is not really bothering you. You are bothering yourself, or you're agitating yourself. You're picking at yourself. You're the one doing it to yourself. And when you think about that, just repeat that and think about it, and it makes you kind of go, that's interesting. So that's kind of the biggest piece for me, is the self-awareness has grown so much for myself that, like I mentioned before, there are days, I'm sorry, women have cycles that sometimes you just have short temper, or you just lose patience. We're all human beings, or things are just too much and it's like a buildup that I kind of revert back a little bit, but I catch myself, or I catch myself really quickly after, and I'm like, I apologize, and I'm like, I didn't show up the best of myself. Can we begin again? And I think that's the biggest key, is to not think that just because you fell off the horse or you made a mistake or you went back, that's it. You ruined everything in your growth. It's a practice. It's a constant growing. It's a constant getting better every day. And I would definitely say too, that because of that and my more calmness, I'm attracting, or my vibration, if you want to say, if you're a follower of that, like your energy vibration of who you vibrate, everyone has an energy around them, field around them, that I'm attracting, and people that are naturally drawn to me are more calm people. more people at peace, and I can feel it. And it's a kindred spirit. It's an alignment that's different than in the past. In the past, sometimes I would attract someone that was more anxious, and there's nothing wrong with that because I think everyone's going through their own battle and struggle, but that wasn't really adding to my life. And I didn't realize that I was attracting some of exactly what I was trying to get away from. And I would often say the words like, oh, it's crazy, this day's crazy. And I didn't realize I was bringing that to me instead of saying everything's working out and I'm exactly where I need to be. And it's a great reminder to say that to yourself when you start catching yourself being anxious and comparing yourself, that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're not in comparison. This is your race. It's you versus you, like I said. And I love that saying too. And it's, there's that thing of unanswered prayers. There's music about it. I think there's songs written about it. And if you believe there's a higher God, I do, source, but I do believe in God, and that I know that I have his favor, and that the no's are his ways of saying this is not for you now, and trust. That's a big key, because I think when you learn to let go and let be and not be tied to the outcome, you're leaving it up and you're saying I trust. And that's the biggest and most amazing release and eye-opening experience for myself as a woman, as a mother, as someone working and running businesses and living by so much faith. And so that has been my result over time. Now, if you think about results, you're probably wondering, well, how did you get these results? Because I went from before and then after. So I will say the top 3 things I did to kind of get to this point, and one thing I still do is number 4, I'm going to add on at the end because my husband reminded me to mention it, even though I don't necessarily say that's the reason why, but he thinks it is the number 1 thing I implemented that I really actively did. And everyone believes this. So this is, you try it out and see if it works for you. But for me, it's been a game changer, is actively, intentionally reading. And I love to read. I'm a reader, and I used to always just read fiction. And then I got into reading nonfiction and books that were inspiring me, and business books and spirituality books and books on emotional health and all that type, like brain stuff, everything you can think of. And what I found is that any book that supported my growth in any way, what shape or form, whether it was personal growth, as a woman, as a mom, business, any type of growth, even just reading books that made me happy, it made me better. It made me a fuller person and more in tune with what was going on instead of just that racing feeling. Now, if you don't want to read and you're not a reader, I would highly suggest audiobooks. I have lots of my coaching clients that love to do Audible. So if I give a book, they'll immediately go get the Audible, which I don't care, because if you have drive time and you're a listener, then that's great. Everybody learns differently, and I think that's really important to understand how you learn and go lean towards that and not try to fight it. Also, podcasts are great. I love listening to podcasts. YouTube, if you found me here, you can listen to this, but anything that pushes you to grow, anything that challenges you from your status quo of where you were and where your comfort zone, anything that makes you go, that's interesting, I'm curious, what does that mean? How can I apply this? That's what I'm talking about, because what that does is it stretches you and causes you to continue to grow and have that, never-ending improvement of who you are as a human. That's the number 1 thing I will say over and over and over and over again. What are you reading? What are you studying? How are you growing as a human? 2 would be, for me, meditation and prayer. I know it sounds kooky, but people throw that word around a lot. I have it on the Peloton app. I actually started it through the Peloton app because years ago I tried to meditate. I think Oprah had Deepak Chopra on, and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I did it, and I kept falling asleep, and it just wasn't for me at that time. I think I wasn't patient with myself. So first of all, be patient if you're going to meditate. Start with 5 minutes. I actually started with 2 minutes. I would set a timer, a nice chime, and I would just do 2 minutes. And I would just breathe in and just notice my breath. And the guided meditations, I highly recommend, so you don't kind of get in your thoughts and random thoughts don't just show up, because I know that's frustrating for people. But the guided meditations are wonderful. I'm a big lover of Joe Dispenza meditations. Bob Proctor has some. I love Abraham Hicks meditations. I love a lot of meditation music, like high frequency music. You can Google those things as well. And all of those things I love. And then the Peloton app has some options as well. And you can go on podcasts. There's meditations. There's meditations everywhere, like all different, like evening ones, morning ones. And I just recommend trying it. Give it a try and give yourself 5 minutes a day. Just do it in the morning and night. And all of a sudden you'll be doing longer ones. And I try to do them twice a day. day. Sometimes I'll do them in the middle of the day if I just feel like I need to disconnect, regroup, and reground. And I know that I'm kind of starting to get those flurries again. I recognize I have self-awareness and I stop myself. So that would be huge. So meditation and prayers, number 2. Number 3 is grace, giving yourself grace. Celebrating when you see milestones, meaning you see improvement in yourself. When you get that compliment from your husband and wife that says, babe, I'm so proud of you. I can tell this is typically something you'd freak out about. You didn't respond that way. Or you even notice that you don't have tension or anxiety, or you don't feel exhausted, or you don't feel dread. That means you're moving forward. And you need to recognize that and celebrate that. That's something I'm actually working on myself, is celebrating more. And that's something that's huge in our world, because I think we're so quick to go to the next and not say good job. And I don't think that you need to give yourself humongous trophies and have huge celebrations. That's different. But you can acknowledge that you've made growth in yourself and you can celebrate that win. That's a really big thing. And I'm going to throw this last 4th one in because my husband reminded me, exercise. And I think that's kind of like a given. So I didn't say that. But the reason why exercise is so great for releasing things is that a lot of people have energy pent up. I'm one of those people that's very high energy naturally. Whether you have high energy naturally or not, when you exercise, you kind of release endorphins and you release just the ick sometimes, just getting it out of your head, just changing state physicality wise really does help. It's very mysterious, even if you're dreading and you don't want to exercise. And I haven't exercised today, honestly, so I need to go do that. But I really wanted to make this video in the time feeling of I thought about it. I really wanted to share this content because I think it's so important right now that we're all in so much chaos, and the world is like crazy right now with whatever is going on politically, wars, all the stuff happening in the world, financial, that more than ever, there is a need for people, for humans to find resolve, a centeredness, and knowing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And no matter what happens, you don't have to be tied to a certain outcome for you to be happy, for you to be calm, and for you to live your life, and to accept that no matter what, it is what it is. And you're a lot of times can't change the things that you're obsessing about anyways. So you've just wasted energy, stress, tears, anger, and upset everyone around you on top of it for what? And instead you could just be calm, and sometimes the solution shows up and you're like, hey, it's all good. So I wish all good for you, and I wish, and so it is, a beautiful life, and that you find more calm and you learn to let it go like Elsa. If you liked this content and you are drawn to me for whatever reason, please subscribe and follow and comment. I'm just curious how people deal with stress right now, and what is the biggest struggle for you as humans in the world. So, all right, have a great day. Thanks for watching.